So you're in a situation where every single month you have to find £750, irrespective of what interest rates are doing, whether the property is tenanted or not, yeah? By giving yourself a lower monthly commitment, you're only having to find £500. You've still got that £250, yeah? You can invest that. You might be able to find like an ISA product or something. You might be able to use that extra money to invest in another property, to get another property bringing in income. There's lots of different ways you can use that money. You may have a mortgage that allows you to make overpayments. So with that extra £250, you can pay it every month anyway. So your capital balance is still reducing. But in a bad month, all of a sudden, instead of having to find £750, you only have to find £500. So we would always say to go interest only to give yourself the best possible cash flow.
It gives you the onus.
Yeah, exactly. The onus becomes on you. You've got the choice now whether you make that extra payment.
So why would you want to go principal and interest?
You wouldn't, frankly.
So just a quick caveat to that, okay? The only time that you would normally look to do repayment on a buy-to-let. Hands Up Pure has got property that for example, a good example is children at university who's bought a property and they have their own kids in it. At the university, college, whatever. If you're looking to buy a buy-to-let, but looking to rent it out to family because they're at university, or looking at, if you've got a 3, 5, 7 or 10-year exit strategy, interest only, don't worry about it, just look for the best rates. If you're looking to buy a property initially as a buy-to-let investment, but then you could potentially rent it out if your kids, one of my clients has his daughter's down in Swansea, so he's bought a 4-bed HMO down there, she's living there with 3 of her friends, so obviously the payments are being made, and it's more than enough to cover a repayment mortgage. So that for him then becomes a long-term investment. So that's the only time, in my opinion, you'd look to go repayment if you're actually looking at it as a buy-to-let initially, but long-term as a family investment. So you buy it now, rent it out to family and friends, and then eventually after 20 years or 15 years, whatever, you can bestow it to your family. That's the only time, to be fair, you look at repayment. That isn't an exact science, but did James just ask the question, anyone here have a repayment on any of the buy-to-lets? No, exactly. So that's the only time you'd realistically look to do it if you had family living there.
I think that, for me, that's the key in developing my strategy. Do I want to own the property at the end of my exit strategy, whether that's more than 10 years or not?
Exactly. You make that decision. I mean, it's not set in stone. I mean, obviously, the way the products are at the moment, it's difficult to swap and change. But as the market changes, you'll have the ability to go from, if you suddenly think, well, actually, I would mind keeping this property as a long-term investment. So you can say, well, actually, I'll go from interest only to repayment on it. But as a rule of thumb, the only time you look to do that if it was a long-term investment property. And as I said, it suits this client with his daughter down in Swansea. She's going to stay down there anyway, so once she's finished university, then he'll basically potentially hand that property to her as her own investment.
I guess it does depend on your strategy, but I guess from my perspective, it's a little bit silly to have all your money tied up until one place.
99% of investors do interest only. As I said, there are caveats to that, and it's not an exact science, but that's a fairly good example of the time you would do it. Is if you're looking to offload in 7 years' time, you're not going to go repayment. But if you're looking to keep it as a long-term investment for family, then repayment makes good sense because you're bringing down the actual the amount that's owed at the end.
Does that answer your question, Matt? Yeah?
Yes. Yep.
All right, cool.
Interest only and...
But yeah, I mean...
That's how it is going.
Some people might choose to do a combination of both. They might do part of it interest only and part of it capital repayment. Like Mike said, it's not an exact science, but for buy-to-let, it's very unusual for anybody to do it as capital and interest. Interest only, maximise your cash flow, give you the power to decide when you make any overpayments or what you do with the capital, give you the potential to reinvest that into other areas, yeah? But ultimately, there's only 2 kinds of mortgages. They'll throw names at you, we've got this, we've got the step discount, fixed rate, super duper tracker. You've only got 2 kinds of mortgages. You've got ones where the amount you pay every month is fixed, or mortgages where every month the amount you pay could change upwards or downwards depending on market conditions. But I'm just going to give you a breakdown on the different sub-mortgages that exist within each category, okay? Fixed rate. A fixed rate mortgage is exactly what it says. It is fixed for a number of years, typically 2, 3 or 5, very occasionally 10. and historically sometimes 25-year fixed rate mortgages, but not for the purpose of what we're looking at today, yeah? Does exactly what it says on the tin. They will fix the rate of interest you pay for a certain amount of time, whatever happens in the market, doesn't matter, they stay the same, yeah? Alongside that, then you've got capped or collared mortgages, which are very similar to fixed, except they can move, but they will never go above a certain amount. So you could have a mortgage, say, capped at 6.5%. If rates drop, then you will get the benefit of that rate reduction. But if rates go up, it would never go above that capping rate, the 6.5, okay? Variable rates then, again, I've already touched on the different kinds. Tracker. A tracker variable rate is one that would track the Bank of England base rate. So whatever the Bank of England base rate is, they would charge you that plus a certain percentage. So in the buy-to-let arena, possibly Bank of England plus 1.5%. Whatever happens, you get the full benefit or the full hit of that change. So again, in the media quite recently, rates went down 0.5%. The tabloid press were quick to jump on certain lenders who didn't pass that rate onto their customers. If you've got a tracker rate, doesn't matter, you will get the benefit or take the hit on that straight away. As soon as the Bank of England change their rate, your rate changes accordingly. Okay? Standard variable rate, that is usually just a standard rate of mortgage payment that any lender would come up with. It's usually an expensive rate and not usually the best one to take, but you know, there may be reasons why somebody would want to stay on a standard variable rate. The only thing I can think of on that, it might be somebody's come out of the discount period, but they don't want to refinance at that particular time for a specific reason, so they might stay on standard variable rate for a little bit of time, maybe while they work out where they want to go from there. Discount rate is where the lender will give a set amount of discount from their own standard variable rate. So they might say, right, well, our standard variable rate is 7.5%, and we will give you a discount on that of 1.75% for 3 years, yeah? The one downfall with that, you get a favourable rate, you're getting a discount, so you're getting a competitive rate. If the Bank of England drops their rate, it doesn't mean to say that lender will necessarily pass the benefit of that rate reduction to yourself. So the companies that have generally been accused of not passing rate cuts onto their customers, it's because of that. People are on discounted rates, they don't change their standard variable rate, or if they do, they might only change it by 0.2 or 0.3%, and they won't have passed the full 0.5% onto their customers. Stepped discount. Again, this might be good for new investors who, you know, don't really have a full idea about what their working capital would be. A step discount is typically where the discount is stepped down. So earlier in the mortgage, you get a bigger discount to maximise your cash flow. As the mortgage goes on, then the discount is stepped downwards, so the mortgage will go up. It just allows you a little bit of time to adjust to the, you know, new circumstances, let you get settled into it, let you get used to the payments, give you a bit more money at the beginning. Anybody got any questions with any of those types of mortgages? Some might be combinations of both. You know, it's not an exact science, but different companies have different names for their products. But essentially, you've only got two. You've got one that's fixed, one that's variable. Okay, lock-in periods with mortgages. Be very careful, go in with your eyes open. Some companies will offer fantastic rates of interest and you think, wow, that is really, really good. Yeah, I'm going to go for that. That is the lowest rate. They might give you an excellent rate for 3 years that's well below anything else that's out there. But then they may lock you in for a couple of years after that on a rate that is not competitive at all, a rate that is a lot higher than the other rates. And after 3 years, you think to yourself, oh, well, I'm not paying that, I want to get out. And then you go to that lender and find out that there is very, very big penalties if you wanted to surrender that mortgage. So go in with your eyes open, make sure you know how long you have to commit to that mortgage. If you do wish to leave that mortgage, what sort of money you would need to pay on that, okay?